More.
Mississippi State versus Texas Tech in the AutoZone
Lord.
Liberty Bowl from Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee. Texas Tech won this one 34-7. 34-7. Yeah, this, like, you know how we were talking about, you know, because of all the legal stuff going on between Mike Leach and Texas Tech, we were like, yeah, I bet he circled that on his calendar. And while he may have, it appears that his team did not. Defense didn't really show up. Offense couldn't really get going. We've kind of watched Will Rogers do well for most of the season. But he was held under 300 yards for the first time in 10 games in this game. And you know, they were talking about Texas Tech just really dominating in the trenches, and they really did in this game on both sides of the ball. Mississippi State, they showed some signs of life throughout the game, but ultimately the wheels fell off. You could kind of feel that coming along in the second half, and they imploded. So, yeah, let's start with Matt. What are your thoughts on this poor performance?
How's that? It's either a Vine or something where you go, "Oh no, baby, what is you doing?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Mississippi State, what is you doing? Because this is a game that I feel like all of us picked Mississippi State. I felt like this was a game they were going to be able to win, because this was a Texas Tech team that, you know, went 7-6. They finished 7th in the Big 12 this year, which isn't exactly the most stellar conference on the planet to begin with. And they absolutely dominated Mississippi State, which makes no sense. Just awful football out of Mississippi State. You only get one touchdown. Hey, I'm a little shocked. You know, granted, there were some yards put together. I mean, Mississippi State still got 344 total yards. But just, you can't. It's awful. I hate that for Mike Leach, because we were wanting Mike Leach to get a little bit of revenge after the whole Texas Tech litigation stuff, and that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. I mean, Will Rogers still threw for almost 300 yards, but that's low compared to what we've seen out of him this season. So I don't know what happened to Mississippi State.
Yeah, I can tell you what happened. They continued to turn over the ball.
No, that's true.
They had 3 turnovers. I think this is a Mississippi State team that we've continued to see has issues with turnovers. And until that gets wrapped up, it's not going to matter. I will say, this is obviously, we're in a weird time still where COVID is a factor, and we'll talk about it later about teams being affected by it. How affected are the teams by it? But Coach Leach said that his team was struck with COVID issues shortly after arriving in Memphis, and he never considered pulling his team out of the game. And after his news conference post-game, he said that he estimated 10 or 11 players were affected, and that he was committed to playing the game anyways. So is that actually a factor? I don't know. I don't know if that's an excuse. I think it's an easy excuse right now for teams to use, because it makes sense. You say, like, we were affected by COVID, and who's going to say that you weren't? But I think it might be the turnover monster and not so much the COVID monster.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, they struggled with turnovers. The defense gave up a ton as well. It's just like they couldn't stop anybody. Mm-hmm. So put those things together, and not a good recipe. So speaking of recipe, let's talk about the